The sun rises over Constantinople, and the city exhales. Smoke curls from 1,000 chimneys. Church bells begin their morning conversation across the 7 hills, each campanile answering the others in a rhythm that has marked time here for centuries. A baker slides the first loaves into his oven, the smell of bread already drifting into the narrow street outside. Another day begins in the city that calls itself the Queen of Cities, the great church of Hagia. Sophia catches the first light, its dome appearing to hover impossibly above the earth, held up by what architects still struggle to explain even after 900 years. Step inside during morning prayer, and you understand why visitors have always said the same thing. It feels like standing inside heaven itself. Golden mosaics shimmer in the candlelight, but they serve a purpose beyond beauty. The tiny glass tiles are set at slightly different angles, catching and reflecting light in ways that keep the interior remarkably cool even on the hottest summer days. The builders understood something about light and temperature that wouldn't be written down for centuries. The air tastes of frankincense and myrrh. An old woman lights a candle before an icon of the Virgin, her lips moving in silent prayer. She's been coming here every morning for 40 years. Her grandmother did the same. Walk down toward the Golden Horn, and you'll hear a dozen languages before you've gone 3 blocks. Greek dominates, of course, but there's Italian from the Genoese and Venetian merchants, Slavic tongues from traders who've come down the Black Sea, Arabic from travelers, even some Persian. A city between 2 continents becomes a place where the world meets, argues, negotiates, and somehow does business anyway. The street names themselves tell you what happens here. The street of the saddle makers, the lane of the silversmiths, the quarter of the perfumers. Every profession clusters together, watching each other, competing with each other, but also protecting trade secrets that have been passed down through generations. In the market district, a spice merchant opens his shop. Cinnamon, pepper, cloves, saffron, each in its own container, each worth its weight in different metals depending on how far it traveled to get here. Here's something that would surprise most people. Silk is so valuable in Constantinople that it's used as currency. A piece of fine purple silk can purchase a house. The imperial treasury stores bolts of silk the way other kingdoms store gold. The merchant knows every customer by name, remembers what their grandmother bought, extends credit based on reputation rather than contracts. His son, barely 12, already knows which spices pair with which dishes, can spot quality with a glance, understands the difference between this year's saffron harvest and last year's. The guild system here is so specific, it borders on absurd. There's a separate guild for bakers who make round bread and bakers who make long bread. Another guild exclusively for those who bake the special bread used in religious ceremonies. Try to bake the wrong shape without belonging to the right guild, and you'll find yourself in front of a magistrate faster than you can say your prayers. This isn't bureaucracy for its own sake. It's quality control that has worked for centuries, ensuring that every loaf meets standards. Every transaction is witnessed. Every dispute has a place to be resolved. Here's something most people don't know. Constantinople still has underground cisterns so vast you could row a boat through them in complete darkness, your voice echoing off vaulted ceilings held up by hundreds of columns. The basilica cistern alone can hold 20 million gallons of water. Roman engineers built these chambers centuries ago, and they still work perfectly, supplying fountains throughout the city. Sometimes maintenance workers descend with torches and find coins on the cistern floors, thrown in by people who believed the darkness held spirits that granted wishes. They also find carp swimming in the black water, fish that have lived their entire lives underground, pale and blind but thriving in the darkness. The harbor buzzes with controlled chaos. A Venetian merchant ship has just arrived from Crete, and the crew is already unloading amphoras of wine while the captain argues with customs officials about taxes. Nearby, a fishing boat returns with the morning catch, and within minutes the fish are being sold, cleaned, and carried off to kitchens across the city. Watch the transaction carefully. Money rarely changes hands directly. Instead, a complex web of credit, promises, and family obligations governs who owes what to whom. A fisherman gives the best catch to a tavern keeper who once lent him money for new nets. The tavern keeper will later send food to the fisherman's daughter's wedding. Nothing is written down. Everything is remembered. Up on the city walls, guards can communicate with towers miles away using a system of polished bronze mirrors that reflect sunlight in coded patterns. On a clear day, A message can travel from one end of the fortifications to the other in minutes. At night, they use torches and shuttered lanterns, flashing signals that have specific meanings. All clear, suspicious movement, relief needed. This network has protected the city for generations, an early warning system that relies on nothing more than light and human vigilance. In a workshop near the Church of the Holy Apostles, an icon painter mixes egg yolk with ground pigments, creating paint that will last for centuries if applied correctly. His hand is absolutely steady as he outlines a saint's halo in gold leaf so thin it would blow away in a strong breath. Before he began this icon, he fasted for 3 days and spent hours in prayer. An icon isn't just art here, it's a sacred act, and the painter is an intermediary between the divine and the physical world. He learned this craft from his father, who learned from his father, who learned from a master whose name is now forgotten, but whose technique lives on in every brushstroke. Women in Constantinople have more freedom than in many other places. A widow can inherit her husband's business and run it herself. Women own property, make contracts, and appear in court to defend their interests. In the markets, female vendors sell everything from vegetables to fine embroidered cloth. A weaver's wife doesn't just help in the workshop. She often manages the accounts, negotiates with suppliers, and makes decisions about which clients to accept. Of course, social expectations still constrain them, particularly regarding public behavior and dress. But within those boundaries, women exercise real economic power. The bathhouses remain one of Constantinople's great democratic spaces. Here, at least, a dock worker and a minor aristocrat might find themselves in adjacent steam rooms, both naked, both sweating, both equally human. The bathhouse keeper stokes the Hippocaust furnace that heats the water, a system so old that no one remembers who invented it, only that it works. Men come on certain days, women on others. They scrape their skin with curved metal tools called strigils, soak in hot pools, exchange gossip that would never be spoken in the street outside. More business deals are concluded in bathhouses than in counting houses. And here's an odd detail. People bring their own towels, but the bathhouse provides small pieces of pumice stone for scrubbing feet. These stones are carefully collected from islands in the Aegean, where volcanic activity produces them naturally. Children play in the streets with toys that would be recognizable to their great-great-grandparents. Wooden tops, leather balls, knucklebones used for games of chance. A group of boys kicks a ball made of rags wrapped in leather, shouting and laughing until a shopkeeper yells at them to play somewhere else. They scatter, then regroup 3 streets over and continue their game. Girls play with dolls made of cloth or carved wood, practicing for the household management that will define their adult lives. But childhood here is brief. By age 7, most children are already learning trades or household skills. By 12, many are doing adult work. Food binds this city together in unexpected ways. In wealthy homes, cooks prepare elaborate dishes: lamb roasted with quinces, fish baked in grape leaves with fennel and wine, honey cakes flavored with rosewater. But here's something remarkable. Even the wealthy observe strict fasting rules for nearly half the year. No meat, no dairy, no eggs on Wednesdays and Fridays, throughout Lent, before major feast days. The Orthodox calendar requires nearly 200 days of fasting annually. This means that the richest merchant and the poorest laborer are eating remarkably similar meals for much of the year. Lentils, beans, bread, olive oil, vegetables, fish. Fasting isn't suffering here, it's rhythm. It's shared sacrifice that binds the community together. In modest households, women make a fermented fish sauce called gyros that adds deep flavor to simple dishes. The recipe came from ancient Rome and hasn't changed in 1,000 years. Small fish, salt, and thyme. Every family has a clay jar of gyros aging in a corner. The smell pungent but the taste irreplaceable. Bread is never wasted. Stale loaves are soaked in wine or broth, mixed with whatever vegetables are available, and eaten as a porridge. Nothing is discarded that could feed a person or an animal. In the shadow of the imperial palace, a scribe sits at his desk copying manuscripts. His back aches. His fingers are stained with ink that he makes himself from oak galls, iron, and wine. The recipe for this ink is precise. Too much iron, and the writing will eventually burn through the parchment. Too little, and it will fade within years. But the work matters. He's currently copying Aristotle, preserving philosophy that existed before Christianity, before Rome, before this city had its current name. Between these walls lies more accumulated knowledge than exists anywhere else in the world. When this scribe finishes a particularly difficult passage without error, he writes a small note in the margin. Thank God my hand didn't fail me today. The streets themselves tell stories. Walk along the Macy, the main avenue that runs from the Golden Gate to the palace, and you're following the same path Byzantine emperors have used for triumphal processions for 1,000 years. The paving stones are worn smooth by countless feet. Along this route, you'll see something curious. Small bronze markers embedded in the pavement at regular intervals. These are the imperial milestones, measuring distance not from Constantinople but from the Million, a monument that marks the symbolic center of the entire Byzantine world. All distances in the empire are measured from that single point. Evening brings a subtle shift. The light turns golden, then amber, then purple over the waters of the Bosphorus. Workers head home. Merchants close their shops, securing goods behind heavy wooden doors and iron locks. But before locking up, many merchants perform a small ritual. They bury a coin beneath the threshold or in the corner of the shop. It's meant to ensure prosperity, to anchor good fortune to the place. If you could dig up the foundations of Constantinople's oldest buildings, you'd find layers of coins going back centuries, small prayers in metal left by people whose names no one remembers. Perfume matters here in ways that might seem excessive to outsiders. People don't just wear scent for pleasure. They wear specific perfumes for specific occasions. There's a blend for church, another for business meetings, something different for family gatherings. Rose oil mixed with musk for formal events, lavender and thyme for daily wear, frankincense and myrrh for religious observances. A person's scent announces their purpose before they speak. Perfume makers are respected craftsmen, their shops filled with small glass bottles, each containing mixtures that took weeks to prepare. In one home, 3 generations gather around a low table: grandmother, parents, children, an unmarried aunt. They eat from common dishes, tearing bread to scoop up stew, passing wine mixed with water. The grandmother tells a story everyone has heard before about her own grandmother, who supposedly met an emperor in the street when she was a girl. No one knows if it's true, but the story gets repeated because that's what binds families together, shared narratives that become more important than their accuracy. After the meal, as darkness settles fully over the city, something interesting happens. Many people don't sleep through the entire night. Instead, they follow an ancient pattern. First sleep, then a period of wakefulness in the middle of the night, then second sleep before dawn. During that wakeful period, people pray, tend to fires, talk quietly with family members, think about dreams they just had. Some scholars do their reading during these hours, claiming their minds are clearest then. It's not insomnia. It's simply how humans in this time and place experience night. Prayer happens everywhere, all the time. A merchant pauses in mid-negotiation to cross himself. A woman entering a church touches a holy water basin and brings wet fingers to her forehead. A child says a memorized prayer before eating. Religion here isn't something separate from daily life, attended to on specific days. It's woven into every action, every decision, every moment. The icons hanging in homes aren't decorations. They're windows into another realm, always open, always watching, always available for conversation with the divine. Night transforms Constantinople into a different city. Streets that bustled with noise and movement empty out. Oil lamps flicker in windows. From inside homes come the sounds of evening. Low voices, the scrape of a pot being cleaned, a baby crying, someone coughing. The city guard walks their routes, calling out the hours in a chant that echoes off stone walls. The 10th hour of the night, and all is well. They're not just announcing time. They're providing reassurance that someone is watching, that order persists even in darkness. Most people are already in bed or headed there, lying on mattresses stuffed with wool or straw, depending on what they can afford. Wealthy households have separate sleeping rooms. Poorer families sleep together in the same space where they eat and work, hanging curtains for minimal privacy. Children often share beds, so do unmarried siblings. Personal space is a luxury most people never experience. Sleep comes easily after a day of physical labor. Tomorrow will bring the same routines, the same rhythms, the same ancient city continuing its ancient patterns. But stand on the walls at night and look out across the dark land, and you might notice something that troubles the older residents, though they rarely speak of it directly. The world beyond the walls feels different now than it did in their youth. Still, the city endures. It has endured for more than a millennium. Inside these walls, life continues according to patterns that have worked for generations. People work, pray, love, argue, laugh, and carry forward the traditions that make them who they are. Constantinople in 1453 is still magnificent, still proud, still the city that invented so much of what we call civilization. Its people live with dignity and purpose, maintaining the complex web of faith, family, and community that holds a great city together. They cannot know what the next months will bring. They live in the eternal present, as all people do, assuming tomorrow will resemble today because it always has. If you enjoyed this journey into Constantinople's daily life, please subscribe to our channel for more immersive historical reconstructions. Leave a like if this glimpse into the past fascinated you, and share this video with anyone who loves history brought to life. Your support helps us continue exploring the worlds we've lost.